Good afternoon, my brothers and sisters. We are here today to talk about what happened with our dear brother Donovon Wayne Lynch. I'm Gary McCullum with the Virginia Beach Interdenominational Ministers Conference, and today you're going to hear from a number of people to include the father of Donovon Wayne Lynch. But the themes that you're going to hear today, first and foremost, is that Donovon Wayne Lynch was a good man. Secondly, you're going to hear details of what has been reported is not actually what happened. Thirdly, you're going to be hearing about the fact that the investigation into Donovon's murder, that it appears to be mishandled. There are a lot of questions. Pharrell Williams, Donovon's cousin, said there are too many unanswered questions. Fourthly, you're going to hear that the family wants justice for Donovon. And we're going to make sure that you hear exactly what justice means for Donovon. And then lastly, as you heard at the homegoing celebration, we want to make sure that Donovon's life and his death, that it was not in vain. And so how do we make sure that that this incident, this tragedy, that it never happens again? And so with that, I'm going to ask Pro Football Hall of Famer Bruce Smith if he would start us off, and then you're going to hear other speakers coming up to include from the family. Bruce Smith.
I think it's still morning. Is it still morning?
It's afternoon.
Yeah. Good afternoon. This is a difficult time in our city's history for all of us. I'm here for two reasons. Number one, this senseless act of gun violence, it has to stop. It is harming locals, it is harming tourists, and it's harming businesses for being able to thrive. In this senseless act of gun violence, there were numerous people that were injured. 8 people wounded, and Mrs. Harris lost her life because folks were indiscriminately shooting into crowds. It's got to stop. Secondly, I'm here in support of Wayne Lynch, who is a good man. I've known Wayne since the 80s and 90s when we were playing basketball at the Norfolk Arena. This man has been a major contributor to our youth, keeping them out of harm's way and out of trouble, mentoring them, making sure they were doing the right thing. And to have this happen to a man that's been an asset to our community is heartbreaking. For him to have to bury his only son, as I repeat, in the funeral, at the funeral, it could have been my son. It could have been other sons that this has happened to. So there are numerous questions that have to be answered. We need to have transparency, we need to have the truth, and we need to have justice served. So we're here to support you, Mr. Lynch. I want to send my condolences to the family of Ms. Harris, who senselessly died because of this senseless gun violence. And we just want answers. We want to get to the bottom of this and get to the truth. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Reverend Dr. Eric Majed, and I come here to stand in the gap with my brother Wayne, the Lynch family, and the community at large. Donovon was very close to my family. His dad, Wayne, and I have been knowing each other for 30 plus years. I've been knowing Donovan since he was actually 8 years old. And he was a great young man and became a good man. Donovan was not just an athlete, he was not just a scholar, but Donovan also loved the Lord. And as I stand before you this afternoon, I want to say to you that the family deserves the truth. The community deserves the truth of what happened. We have witnesses. That's the narrative of what happened is different from what the police has put out to the public. Donovan was also allowed to carry a weapon. This young man had a certified license to carry a weapon as well as owned a security company. Why have those things not been mentioned? Why have we not known so far who were the police officers that were involved in the shooting of Donovon Wayne Lynch? So there's a lot of unanswered questions that the family deserve to have answered. The community deserves to have answered. I want to say this to you also. The details of what happened, we are being told, was not reported accurately. We are being told that by witnesses that other things happened, the crime scene location. We are being told by witnesses that actually saw what took place. We also saying that there was 2 uniformed police officers that we are being told. Why haven't that been exposed to the community and to the Lynch family? Why did it take the mayor of Virginia Beach 7 days to show up at Mr. Lynch's house? So I just want to say to you, our condolences go out to the Lynch family. We are standing in the gap with the Lynch family. Not this one, and not this time.
Not this time.
Not this time. Because this is the time for change in our city, change in our community, and Virginia Beach have an opportunity to make this right. Do the right thing. Not this time and not this one.
Yes.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jonathan Lynch. I am the cousin of the late Donovon Lynch. I loved him dearly. Not only was he my cousin, he was a good friend to me. He was a balance to me. I'm a professional school counselor in the city of Norfolk. I graduated from Norfolk State, and I had a baseball scholarship from there. Donovan, shortly after, got his football scholarship to UVA Wise. I just feel like our upbringing was a great representation of that. We were raised by our grandparents in Hampton, Virginia, and we always try to do the right thing. And it's just hurtful to know that when I go back to my school and I tell my students to do the right thing and everything will be okay, I can't say that with wholeheartedness because Donovan did the right thing. So we have a lot of questions. We have a lot of questions as a family that need to be answered. For example, if the police officer was claimed to be a good officer and did the right thing, why hasn't he been named yet? Also, why did it take the Virginia Beach mayor a week to reach out to the family and other families involved in that shooting? Why does it appear that Donovan's body was removed and established at a new crime scene? Why does it appear that the body was reported by, excuse me everyone, this is very difficult, but why was it reported by news cameras that the body was not supposed to be where it was found, and it was not reported to the hospital until the next morning? His body laid in the street all night long while the family was looking for it. I just ask that everyone during this time not look at a color or a badge, to stay true to that badge, but be a good citizen, be a good person. The only time the people are going to get real justice if we all stick together. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Curtis Turner. I had the privilege of coaching Donovan. He was like my nephew. Last week we were able to give Donovon Lynch a well-deserved homecoming service. But now we need answers. When I coached Donovan, my coach and I would have a game plan. Some games we lost, some games we won, but we had a plan. Since the night of Donovan was shot, there have been several contrasting assumptions of what took place that night he was killed. Because how the media has portrayed Donovan before even conducting a full investigation has been disrespectful and hurtful. With that being said, now there needs to be a plan, a game plan in place by the city and by the state, so the Lynch family and the nation can really know what happened to Donovan on 3/26. Because until this is resolved, his father, his sister, and everyone who loves him will never have any closure. No justice, no peace. Justice for Donovon Lynch. Thank you so much.
How y'all doing today? My name is Cameron Bertrand. I'm the CEO of Violence Intervention and Prevention, VIP LLC. I'm a gun violence survivor. I was shot here in Hampton Roads, November 7, 2015. I'm a mental health counselor. I'm a sociologist. I'm a criminologist. And most importantly, I'm a reflection of the type of work that Mr. Wayne Lynch has done right here in our community. In my time at Christopher Newport University, I got a chance to develop a relationship with this man and his family. And what the Lynch family stands for, and what Donovan has still been able to stand for in his afterlife, is that we need transparency and justice in all that we do. We need to know that we can lead by example and be the change we need to see in our communities, that we should be able to do that. But how is it that we have elected officials and sworn officers of the law that don't understand this simple concept? How is it that we've been able to spend time and time and time trying to fight for transparency from those who were sworn to do just that? How is it that we've been able to see that there are people who could come to the forefront and bring information and ID officers that the Virginia Beach Police Department will not speak on? You cannot ask these families that are dealing with trauma, that are dealing with grief at a tragedy that could have been controlled and prevented by the Virginia Beach Police Department. But they have not done that. They will not reach out to these families. They will not help them heal. Our families cannot heal without justice, and I've been saying it and I will continue to say it. Virginia, we are in a state of emergency. This is no longer a discussion or a debate. There's no going back to regular life until we get justice for our families. If you go and look at what's happened this year alone across the state, let alone in Virginia Beach that night, how can we expect our families to heal without justice? Those individuals in those offices get to go home to their families at night. We're up at night trying to console and make sure that these families can get through this very traumatic stage of their lives. There's no going back for them. We need to know that there's going to be transparency. We need to know that there's going to be answers about the information that continues to come to the forefront. These officers, their information should have been revealed the minute that Virginia Beach Police Chief knew who they were. Why would you control that case the way you did? Why would you try to push it to Virginia State Police Department, who has already mishandled Xavier Hill's case? Why would you think that we would accept that?
Yes.
We know what we need in our communities. We have a voice for ourselves, and we are the people. I'm telling you now, if we don't stand up and fight back, this will not stop. We need trauma-informed, evidence-based, outcome-driven solutions in our communities. The Legal Defense Fund that Mr. Wayne has been able to create during this time of grief is something that we should be able to admire, because his son Donovan stood for all of that. He deserves more than that. And I'm telling you here and I'm telling you now, Until we get the justice that we need, until we get the answers that we need, we cannot stop applying pressure on these individuals. A holistic approach. If it's not in the streets, if it's not in them boardrooms, if it's not on them phones, you do not let up. Because the Lynch family deserves justice, and they cannot heal without it. The families that were traumatized, the people that were in this environment, the people that have to see it on social media, we all have to deal with that. Virginia Beach, you have to stand up. Those elected officials in those offices, don't think those press conferences that you did behind those closed doors did anything, because you couldn't come down and speak to these families. That's what you should have done. So the minute that we have an opportunity to shift that legislative power to the people and reform the policies to make sure they advocate for the people, we need to do it. And it does not stop today. It does not end tomorrow. This will be a fight that we need to continue to fight. So that legal defense fund is just the start of the honor of the legacy of Donovon Lynch. But I'm telling you now, we are the people and we are the voice. We need to stand up and fight back. This is the last time, y'all. Come on.
Hello, my name is Jeff Reichert, and I'm the attorney for the Lynch family. A lot of different places I'd like to start, but first, I'm here as an attorney, but I'm also here mainly as a friend. I was one of those kids that Mr. Lynch affected. I grew up in Virginia Beach, and he taught me a lot when probably met him when I was 12 years old. He's that man, and I'm also a coach and a dad. He's one of my best friends, and that's why I'm here. So I also am a lawyer, and that's what I'm sure you guys would like to hear some about. But this has touched me as a human being more than anything I could ever imagine in my life. I want to start out also by saying, if Donovon was white, none of us would be here right now. Period. Hands down. And I'm a white man saying that, and I know that for a fact, because I know the facts. So I'm not going to get into my background. I'm an attorney. That's good enough. I deal in truth. I deal in facts. And in the last 2 weeks, I've learned I speak one word, not out of both sides of my mouth, like all the people I've talked to. I'm embarrassed for the people who we've elected. I'm embarrassed in my personal dealings with them. I'm embarrassed as an attorney. I'm embarrassed as a veteran of this country. I served my country for 11 years. I'm embarrassed, and I'm hurt. But with that also comes anger, and I hope you don't see that side of me. Let's start with some basic facts. Why are we standing right here? Well, Donovon was executed right here, right there, all right? So reporters, you will see if you go online and listen to all the reports in the Virginia Beach Police, they said he was shot over there. That's not the case. He was shot right here, right, by an officer who was standing right there, who didn't have his camera on. There was a second officer who shot another witness who came to Donovon's aid, right there, shot him in the hand, and he got away. Nobody's talked to that person. Nobody knows they exist, because if they went after that person, then that whole crime scene, their whole narrative is shot.
That's right.
The body was also, this is information that I've been able to disclose just from Google, looking at videos. The body, there's 3 different videos that were shown. The body was moved to the other where the other shooting was. Okay? Now I'll pause for the claim. The body was moved. You can look from cameras. This isn't rocket science. Actually, my 11-year-old son helped me with this. Cameras that they showed of Donovon's body next to the other body were over there. He was shot here. How did he get from here to over there? All right. I could go on and on and on with facts that they were just too easy to put together. Okay. I came over here on Monday morning with my dear friend Wayne to mourn and to see the place where his son died, I was able to pick up valuable evidence right off the ground right here. Does that sound like they did a crime scene and they sweep the area? I was shocked. And ever since then, I've been trying my damnedest to put faith and trust in the people who are supposed to be doing this job, but they're just not doing it. I've been doing their job for them behind the scenes. This family has been doing their job for them. The second part of this, other than the crime scene, which I will fill in more details, I know it's scattered, the second crime that I've witnessed here is the handling of this investigation. The handling of this investigation. I was with Wayne from the very start. The mayor never called, chief of police never called, nobody called. I let the right people know that we were waiting for a call. Nobody reached out. I then went to the mayor then showed up 7 days later. 7 days later. I said to him, eye to eye, I asked him, tweet out a retraction of the word brandishing until you can confirm or deny whether Donovan was brandishing a weapon. That's probably the 8th request I made to someone with the ability to do that ever since that word was released to the media. Deaf ears. I then was referred to the new investigator, chief investigator from the Virginia State Police. Same information. And I'm not here to throw anybody under the bus, so I won't say his name, but he proceeded to send me 3 text messages in a row that were just cut and paste of the same text messages when I asked him for any update. Now, I'd given this man plenty of information that he could have investigated, and I knew the people he should have talked to, but none of those people said they've ever talked to any police officer, Virginia Beach Police or Virginia State Police. That tells me that they're not doing an investigation, that they don't want to do an investigation. It then went up to the governor's office. Same story. Please relinquish or redact the word brandishing. That's a key word that was intentionally placed 3 days after into the police report 3 days after. I also began calls for a federal investigation. Myself, along with Farrell, Reverend Barber, I can't even count how many people have been calling for a federal investigation. We've waited for 2 weeks now, or whatever the exact date is. I'm sorry, it's been a long 2 weeks. It feels like 2 weeks. We've heard a couple of excuses. This is Virginia Beach's blind spot. Well, of course it's a blind spot because they want you to think the crime scene's over there. They've made no attempt to get any of the cameras that you can look around here and see. This show right there, I'm looking right at one, right there. I'm looking at one right up there. I'm looking one right here, looking one right there. Let's just start with the fact why we have to get these cameras. We have to get these cameras because 2 officers were involved. 2 officers fired their weapon on Friday night. 2 officers, and neither one of their cameras were on. Well, it doesn't take much of an investigator to look around here and see there's plenty of video footage. Okay? I've looked into it. They want you to think the bodies were over there. Donovan's was shot at 11:52. His time of death was 12:07. Death by homicide. He did not arrive at the hospital until after 9 a.m. the next morning. There's video footage of him on a gurney within minutes of him being shot. That gurney was moved over there, next to Miss Harris's body. I'll let you infer why. So let me walk you through their narrative, Their narrative, that's what it is. I deal in truth, they deal in narratives. They started by saying that it was an armed citizen immediately after, which he was, of course. He owned a security business. He had a licensed firearm. Then they said that they were investigating because a weapon was found at the scene. All they were doing there was setting up the use of the word brandishing for their whammy of a press release on Monday morning, 3 days after. Now, we're all not criminal investigators here, but if a man was brandishing a weapon, and that's a pretty key fact, and all of a sudden there was a weapon found at the scene a couple days later, brandishing should have been the first word that was used. It was not used because that is the only fact that they have. It is a manufactured fact. So of course they're going to hold on to that word brandishing to the highest level, because if they retract that word, what fact do they have to prove that Donovon Lynch was not executed? So, where do we stand today? I don't think I need to beat a dead horse in saying this needs to be turned over to a federal investigator. We are working behind the scenes with many channels to do that. You may also notice that I am a little bit different than everybody standing here. My background's a little bit different. I have the ability to conduct our own independent investigation. I have plenty of people who are well qualified, well vetted, and that we can trust. So I am calling for a federal investigation in the correct way. However, if that's not done, there will be an independent investigation financed independently and privately to get to the bottom of this. I've done an investigation, and I've also been the lawyer. I was told that there was a team of investigators working with the Virginia State Police, and they had a stack of documents that they were working with, and to refer any more information I had to them. Well, no one wants to talk to them because there's a trust issue, and I now understand that. So I will stop there and allow Mr. Lynch, Wayne Lynch, to come up and finish. So I will also obviously you have a lot of questions, I understand, and I will make myself available at the proper time. Thank you.
Good afternoon. As most of you know, my name is Wayne Lynch, Donovon Lynch's father. This is his sister, this is his grandfather, and this is his grandmother. They both have worked and raised kids in the city of Virginia Beach for over 70 years. His grandmother, Miss Betty Seals, worked in the Virginia Beach school system for 30 years as a teacher assistant, assisting many students, guiding, showing them the way, instructing, and making sure they had everything that they need. His grandfather, Mr. Thomas Seals, an entrepreneur in the city of Virginia Beach for over 60 years as a brick mason. He's built most of the things you guys see around here in Virginia Beach. That's the legacy of Donovon Lynch. We want justice for Donovon.
Yes.
Yes. The way he was treated was inhumane. From the time he got murdered until right now. There's been no communication with the family from either Virginia Beach Police, State Police, or the governor. We've made repeated requests to have some things removed from the statement that they fabricated, and has not been done to this day. There's been no updates, no condolences. The mayor came to see me, it wasn't 7 days, it was 8 days, 12 hours and 36 minutes.
Okay.
That's right. That's what it was when he came to my house. And when he came and spoke to me, it was embarrassing. We couldn't understand what he was trying to say. It broke my heart, because I respected the mayor at one point. We had been talking about doing things in the community for our kids. And then this happens to my son. Then he doesn't know who I am all of a sudden. spent my career for the last 30 plus years working with youth, not only in Virginia Beach, but all over Hampton Roads. I've been a coach, a mentor, court officer, behavioral specialist, substitute teacher. My current position is with the City of Newport News Juvenile Services. I'm an intake officer. I work from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. in the morning, making sure our kids are safe in the community. What I can do for them, how I can help them, how I can mentor them. My son was a prime example of what I've been doing in my community. Prime example. He did everything the right way. Did everything the right way. We're heartbroken, angry, frustrated, hurt, and all other adjectives that go along with that. We want justice for Donald. What they did that night to him is horrific, outrageous. They treated my son like it was a movie. It's not a movie, it's people's lives. The truth will prevail. And Donovon Lynch will be honored, revered, and we will take this movement all over the country for other parents. This is at my doorstep now. I want to thank my attorney, Jeff Reichert. I want to thank my team, everyone that's here today. I want to thank everyone for all the love and support, but this is not over. This is just beginning. We want justice for Donovon Lynch, and we will get it. No justice, no peace. You want to say something?
Hello, everyone. My name is Lauren Lynch. I'm Donovon's one and only sister. And honestly, everybody keeps asking me how I feel, like, am I okay? And the answer is no, I'm not okay, not because I'm sad or not because I'm upset, mostly because I'm angry, because of the type of person that my brother was. We talked about our dreams, we talked about our goals, we talked about what our future would hold, and to know that that was just taken from him just because he was black, it really hurts me because I'm black. And if it can happen to him, it can happen to me, and it can happen to anybody that's out here. We're not a spectacle. We're not just the next person up on the news. This is a movement, and this is a story that needs to be heard and needs to be told. Yes. I want to thank everybody that has been supporting us, and everybody that has been sending their condolences, everybody that has been donating, everybody that has been checking on us, bringing food by the house. I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart. Because even though it can't bring my brother back, it really shows how much of community support we have. Thank you.
So we're going to transition now to take some questions that the media might have. But just to reiterate what the family has said in terms of what it is demanding. First and foremost, that we immediately retract the statement that Donovon was brandishing a weapon. Number two, immediately initiate a federal investigation by the Department of Justice into the police-involved shooting of Donovon Wayne Lynch. Number three, immediately identify the officers, not officer, but officers involved in this police shooting. Number four, immediately begin to provide regular updates to the family and to the public at large about this incident. And lastly, immediately demand that the city create and fund a civilian or citizens review board that has full subpoena powers, investigatory powers, budget, that would be in place so that there is accountability for our police departments. That is what the family is demanding to happen right now because of what happened to Donovon Wayne Lynch. And with that, the family and the attorneys would be happy to take any questions that you might have. Just a few questions.
With regards to Christian Broadcasting Corporation, Carlos Howard, WPCE, sources say that this was an assassination on Donovon Lynch based upon the fact that his cousin is making some quiet moves in terms of development, and this was done by the rogue officers of the Third Machine who basically targeted this young man. Now, truth be told, the remains was killed, he was shot here and transported over there. It would stand the reason that there would bear some measure of authenticity as it relates to getting this federal investigation because of the fact that you have 100 cops out here running around and nobody's body cameras on. I mean, what's generally done, you have the state police and the Virginia Beach police, those are clearinghouses cover for each other. You're not going to get anybody. Has Elaine, Lawyer, Bobby Scott, or any of the Congress people been called in to facilitate this investigation? And, I mean,
no, there has not been no one. The only person called in to facilitate is the Virginia State Police.
Well, you know, as a citizen and being in part of the system in the media, man, those guys are not gonna.
Exactly.
They're gonna best they can wash this over. There needs to be an independent study, pretty much like what took place up in Windsor. Our White. This is no different.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, it's different in a lot of other ways, but yes, I agree with you. So, what was the question? Have they?
Yeah, I mean,
they
you
have
know,
not, they've
you,
offered condolences, but as far as the investigation, no.
And I think what we're saying, if you heard the question, we're not sure about any conspiracies or anything like that. What we're saying, what we're saying is, what the family is saying, we want a complete, independent investigation into what happened. We know from what you heard from the attorney that there's evidence that contradicts what has been publicly reported already. And so we're just saying, let's make sure that there's an independent federal investigation to what happened.
Well, you have
other questions?
Remains, you're going to have
It's a question here.
Okay, go ahead. There's a plane coming. I'll take one take first and second. First, as far as how we know he was not brandishing, there's a lot of different reasons. Starting with, we know Donovan, his character, who he was, what he was doing. Second, we know exactly his mindset, where he was, what he was doing that night. Okay, so let me walk you through. Shots go off down there. He was walking towards his car to get away from that with a friend of his. Okay, and their car was parked down there. He's walking across here. Okay. Now, Donovan was wearing very baggy camouflage shorts and baggy shirt. He's also in physical therapy because he's a large man. He had some back issues, okay? And he is also known for never having a holster. He always carries his weapon in his pocket, which, as anyone knows guns, makes it a lot harder to pull your weapon. So he was shot in the left arm as he's walking through here, turned him around and shot him in the chest, okay? And that killed him, all right? So brandishing, and he was shot at a distance about 15 yards. The officer was right about there. Okay? So brandishing, well, if he was brandishing, that would have been the first word they used. The gun would have been on.
Let me interrupt you there. You say he was shot from 15 yards. Is that based on a witness statement?
Yes, I've witnessed statements. Yes, I witnessed statements to confirm that. That was part of your second question. I've witnessed statements to confirm everything that I tell you. Again, I speak in truth. I don't speak out of both sides. I speak exactly what we have facts and evidence. Yes.
Donovan, from witnesses, was Donovan challenged by the police? Was he directed?
No.
Like that?
Donovan, the police officer knew Donovan and the other gentleman that he was with. So brandishing, they weren't like best friends, but he knew who he was. And Donovan's not an easy miss. He's 6'4", 300 pounds.
One more question. You said the body was moved on a gurney. That had to be the EMS people. Does anybody talk to the EMS guys?
No,
Who gave them that order?
I have not talked to the EMS. I don't know who they were. I saw them on the video, but yes, they were. I like to do the term gaggle. There were a few EMS and police officers gaggling around the body on video while he was on a gurney. I know for a fact he was put on a gurney within minutes.
And this is what we're saying, what the family is saying about the mishandling of this investigation. These are the questions, frankly, that you need to be asking the city of Virginia Beach. You need to be asking these questions because something's not adding up. This is what Farrell said. There are too many unanswered questions.
Let me ask you, you're saying that he was shot in the back?
Hold on, let's go spread the wealth here, sir. I'm sorry, go ahead.
The witnesses you talked to that you're basing this evidence on,
Yeah.
Are they talking with Virginia State Police as part of that investigation?
No, they are not. We'll just put it this way, they should know that they exist and they have not reached out to them.
Would the witnesses want to share that information with Virginia State
Not
Police?
with Virginia State Police because there's a trust factor. Since one, there was a trust factor immediately after police investigating police. Second trust factor is the fact that they haven't contacted him yet. They certainly are not talking to him now because the level of trust, the time it elapsed for everybody involved here. You know, my phone wasn't ringing off the hook. All I got was a cut and paste text message saying, if you have information, send it to this hotline or something. Okay, well, I thought it might be treated a little bit differently than that, seeing I represent the family, but okay.
Again, the question, you said he was shot in the back of the right shoulder?
No, I gotta spread it around. Yes.
As far as the cameras go, have you guys requested or talked to the businesses or tried to get that footage in any way?
We are in the process of doing that. I used to be an acolyte in that church growing up, so we will be. But yes, if you look around, plenty of businesses. That wasn't our job. So.
On this case, have you said anything at all? Do we have any statement from either officer?
We have nothing from either officers other than we know who the first officer is through our own ways, has not been disclosed, and we're also understanding that he's apparently going back to work next week. So I hope or this week. So I hope that that's not the case at all.
And we've also heard from the chief that he had been on the force for 5 years and that he had a good record. Well, why are we talking about this officer? We haven't identified them. There are just too many unanswered questions about what's going on in this case.
Let me just say something too along this line. I do want to thank a few city officials, particularly Aaron Rouse. Yes. He did reach out to me. I've known Aaron since he was a young boy. I mentored Aaron. He has reached out to me. He's facilitated a lot of things that we are getting from the city. It's not much, but what we are, Aaron did facilitate this. I just want to clear that I have talked to Aaron, but as far as talking to the police chief, I have not talked to him to this day.
Next question.
Yes.
I'm really young live, and I want to know, do the city of Virginia Beach understand clearly all eyes are on them right now, and the way they're handling this case is making the public lose faith in the police system. We're sick, and we need to let them know we're tired of the abuse, the murder of our people in our community. Do our mayor understand? Do our city councilman understand that somebody gonna have to stand up and take responsibility for this murder that happened right here in Virginia Beach? And we're holding them accountable if they're not gonna charge the officer. Are they understanding that?
Well, that's a question for them. I would think, as a reasonable person, they hopefully do. Maybe a press conference is what they needed. I don't know. I can't answer that question.
I would just simply say that by their actions, it appears that they're not, and I'll give you the evidence. Right now, as you know, the General Assembly gave every municipality in the Commonwealth of Virginia the authority to create civilian or citizens review boards to provide oversight over the police department. Right now, they have the authority to do that. But yet this city council, the majority on this council, is not there. They appear to not want to have that oversight over our police department. So to answer your question, I believe that you have to look at the actions of this council, and the actions don't appear that they want to have that kind of oversight, because that kind of oversight would help create a culture where these kinds of incidents would not happen.
Gary,
do we have anybody that police the police in Virginia Beach?
No.
No.
Gary, the reason I'm asking these questions is because of my forensics background. I'm asking if he was shot in the back.
Actually, he was shot in his leg.
Okay.
Leg,
and turn around and he
chest.
shot center mass. That is police standard training for annihilation of use of deadly force, center mass.
Exactly.
So, that being said, according to my sources again, the officer
I get the conspiracy. We can't get into that.
Okay, I'm not saying.
Those are facts.
I'm asking the question. I'm not trying to make any subjections. As a reporter, getting the facts from where we've committed our own investigation. So you're telling me that you have the ability to shoot center mass for use of deadly force, and you know someone. You can't tell me that you outlined his silhouette if you know it. And these are the kinds of questions.
Those are questions we need to ask the police. Right. They don't exactly.
We'll take one or two more.
You said Donovan was walking back to his car with a friend, and that the officer knew each other, weren't best friends or anything like that. Was there any interaction between the officer and Donovan before he was shot?
No. Not that we've been confirmed. No. Other than he was shot. It was dark, and that's all you can see. There's trees. So, time of death at 12:07. He was shot at 11:52. Time of death is 12:07. That's 15 minutes. All right. In those 15 minutes, there was a second officer who fired his weapon, creates more chaos. Now you have shots over there, shots here. The perimeter is. I wasn't there that night, but normal police procedure should be set as far as the crime scene. All right. We know he was immediately put on a gurney within minutes, so he was still alive probably at the time he was put on the gurney, or right about that thereabouts. At that point, common sense and every type of procedure protocol should be to take him to the hospital, right? People from his family members eventually were at the hospital. He wasn't there yet. All right. Other video footage then I'm assuming after 12:07. All right, and it looked like it from the footage, and that's for the media. You guys can do all this research yourself. Puts his body over there next to Miss Harris's body. Okay, which has nothing to do with what happened here.
So can I wait? Hold 1 second. This issue around the demand that the officers be identified. Again, too many unanswered questions. Is the reason that the officers are not being identified because maybe the stellar record that the chief gave about these officers isn't so stellar? Again, we don't know. But why aren't these officers being identified? Have those officers had any other run-ins with other people in our community? Those are the questions that need to be asked.
despite numerous requests, we've asked for Donovan's possessions back. His wallet, his weapon, obviously, because it was not discharged. It should not be needed anymore for any type of forensics evaluation. We have not received any of his personal possessions back. I don't know the answer to that question, but just want to get that out there as well.
So one last question.
Do you think all the airplanes come lower at this moment of time is done intentionally?
Thank you.
Is it intentionally done?
Mark?
And on the witnesses, of course, you all are here seeking justice for Donovan here today. Do you think it would be important for those witnesses that you're talking about that have not been contacted to be part of whether it's a state investigation or the federal investigation you're calling for to provide that evidence that you're referring to here today? What's the goal? What are you doing?
That's the purpose of a federal federal independent investigation, to allow the witnesses to talk freely to the right people to get the information and get the truth out. It can't be done with state or police investigating state. It has to be a federal investigation. Absolutely.
Are you pushing for this officer to be arrested immediately? The officer involved?
I'm not pushing for anything. I'm pushing for truth and justice for Donovan. If that's part of the process, absolutely. But I can't speak to that. I don't know. That's not my area.
Have you guys spoken to him?
The officer?
Yeah.
No comment.
I have a question for everybody. Do you think, with it being a mandate in January, that the body camera should be on?
Jonathan, come up.
No.
Come up, Jonathan.
This is a question for the people, because the narrative is controlled by the people who believe in the narrative. You understand? So if the people do not believe in the narrative, then the media or the politicians or whoever has something to say, it will never be believed. For example, if you live in Virginia Beach, Newport News, Hampton, anywhere in the 757 area, and your city has a mandate for a body camera, and the body camera is not on, and they try to hide cameras in your city, how can you trust them, and how can you be against the person who was murdered? How is that possible? Look inside of your heart. Don't try to find answers, because if we had the answers, we would not be here. If they did their job, we would not be here. So all of these questions now need to be turned to your souls and to the Virginia Beach Police Department. Not this family who is mourning, who is being strong in the fight, not us. We're standing here doing it because we love our family member. So if you do not believe that the camera should have been off, then believe in us. Thank you.
So the last thing, again, thank you for being here. The last thing I wanted to say on behalf of the family, I was going to, come on up. I was going to talk about the...
Sit like that, come on. Look inside of your heart. Look inside of your soul. Look inside of God, because we are all God's children. This life is only a test. That's it. Donovan is in heaven with his mother. Do you understand? We are the children of God who have to answer the test. We have to answer the test. God is looking down and saying, pick a side. What side you gonna pick? Because when it comes to Judgment Day, some of y'all ain't gonna make it. Simply because you're trying to fight against something that should not be fought against. Come on.
Thank you.
The body camera is not on. Come on.
Anything else they
This is
say after
Virginia
that
Beach.
is not valid.
It is rated one of. I love Virginia. Still, because everybody isn't bad. This city was rated top 10 cities to live. You think there's no cameras on the Strip? One of the top 10 tourist attractions in the country? Do you think we're that naive and that ignorant that we don't know? Enough is enough.
Not this time.
After you turn these cameras off, after you go inside of your car, after you talk to your family, look at God and ask yourself what side of the line are you on, or who is your believer. Now, if you are a believer of something that is of evil, and you represent that, and you're forthcoming, I can respect that, because now I know to get out your way. But for you to sit there and act like you're amongst the people and you're evil, God will not spare you.
Thank you. You can see where the family is and the passion behind this.
educated, we're motivated.
I'm going to ask Lauren to come up because one of the messages that you heard today was that Donovan's life and death was not going to be in vain. And what has been established is an organization, and this organization, in the name of Donovan, will work with city, state, and national authorities to improve community policing and opportunities for our youth. It will work with Pharrell Williams, Donovan's cousin, to convene a high-profile forum designed to educate and develop strategies to improve relations between police departments and marginalized communities. This organization is going to work tirelessly to ensure that Donovan's inspiring but short life was not in vain. Not this time. And so Lauren is going to talk about how you can support this organization and how Donovan's life, again, will not be in vain.
Yeah, you give them the full name of your organization?
Donovan's. Okay.
The name of the organization is the Donovon Lynch Legal Defense Fund, and I will introduce Angie from the Underground organization, and she can tell you exactly how you can donate. Thank you.
Hey everyone. As Lauren said, I'm Angie. I go by Angie Day. I am the founder of the Underground. I'm here just to tell you that we have set up some things to support this family. As being here to organize and strategically plan around this family, we found that they're going to need some support, they're going to need some funds, and you guys are going to need some updates. So we have an Instagram page set up. It's Justice, the number 4, Donovon Lynch. There's a Facebook page, Justice, and it's spelled out F-O-R, Donovon Lynch. And there's also a GoFundMe that's organized by Lauren Lynch. The only GoFundMe that should be going around is the one organized by Lauren Lynch. It's called Justice for Donovon Lynch. Support the family. So be sure to uplift this family, follow these pages in order to find out what's going on. Be sure to follow the Instagram, the Facebook page, and donate to this family because they're going to need your support. The Legal Defense Fund is going to be very important as we continue to try to fight this fight. It's necessary for this fund, and it's necessary that you support this family. As we know, Donovon Lynch was innocent, so it's important that you go ahead and follow these pages and you also donate so we can continue to fight for justice for Donovon Lynch. Again, the Instagram is Justice and the number 4, Donovon Lynch. The Facebook is Justice, F-O-R, Donovon Lynch. Thank you.
Thank you guys for coming. Thank you.